Imagine two people who are the same age and live in the same city. They both earn $80,000 a year, and they both have $80,000 in their accounts. But one decision they are about to make could create a difference of hundreds of thousands of dollars between them 20 years from now. Daniel will put his money toward the down payment on a new home. Jason, instead of putting his money into a house, will continue renting and invest his money in the stock market. Over the next 20 years, we will track mortgage interest, rent increases, taxes, maintenance costs, investment returns, and opportunity cost. At the end of this comparison, we will answer these questions. Is the rent you pay every month really burning your money? Or is buying a home at the wrong time the bigger mistake? Daniel and Jason are both 32 years old. They are the same age, but they expect different things from life. Daniel wants stability, a garage of his own, and a small backyard. Settling down in one place gives him a sense of security. Jason, on the other hand, prefers flexibility in his life. 5 years from now, he may be living in another city. Being tied to a 30-year debt does not make him feel secure. It makes him feel restricted. After months of searching, Daniel finds a mid-sized 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home in an American city. The price is $350,000. He pays $70,000 as a 20% down payment and takes out a $280,000 mortgage with a 30-year term and a fixed 7% interest rate. But paying the down payment is not enough to get the keys. He spends another $10,000 on appraisal fees, title costs, loan fees, and closing costs. So before he even moves in, the entire $80,000 he saved has already been spent on the house. His monthly principal and interest payment is about $1,863. On top of that, he initially pays $350 in property taxes, $150 in homeowner's insurance, and sets aside $290 for maintenance. That brings his total monthly housing cost in the first year to about $2,653. Jason, meanwhile, rents a comparable home for $2,000 a month. He does not pay property taxes, and major repairs are not his responsibility. At the beginning, he spends $653 less per month than Daniel. And this is exactly where Jason makes the decision that will shape his financial future. He does not spend that difference. He invests the entire $80,000 in a broad stock market index fund and adds $653 every month during the first year. Looking at the situation, Jason seems to have the advantage. He lives in a similar home, pays less, and his capital is growing in the market. But people around them see it differently, of course. Daniel is paying toward his own home. Jason is wasting his money on rent. That statement may sound logical, but something is missing. On his first mortgage payment, Daniel pays about $1,633 in interest. Out of his total monthly housing cost of $2,653, only about $230 actually reduces the principal balance. The rest goes toward interest, taxes, insurance, and maintenance. Jason, on the other hand, does not own a property because he is paying rent. But mortgage interest, property taxes, insurance, and repairs do not count as investments either. Both of them are spending money on housing. The costs simply have different names. Daniel has now made 36 payments. His original $280,000 mortgage balance has fallen to about $270,835. In 3 years, he has paid down only a little more than $9,000 in principal. If the home appreciated by 3% per year, it is now worth about $382,000. If it appreciated by 4% per year, it is worth about $394,000. Daniel's home equity is somewhere between approximately $111,000 and $123,000. Jason's investment, combined with his regular contributions and assuming an average annual return of 10%, has grown to about $131,000. After 3 years, the results in terms of spending and wealth are close. Daniel has control over his home and living space. Jason has more liquid wealth. But as time passes, things begin to change. Daniel's $1,863 principal and interest payment remains fixed, while property taxes, insurance, and maintenance costs continue to rise. As the house gets older, even small repairs can turn into serious expenses. Jason's problem is rent increases. The home he originally rented for $2,000 a month rises by 3% every year, reaching around $2,300 after a few years, and later passing $2,500. The home stays the same, but he pays more every month. Apparently, his landlord is also a fan of compound growth. By year 10, Daniel is 42 years old. If the home appreciated by 3% per year, its value may have reached about $470,000. At 4% per year, it may be worth around $518,000. His remaining mortgage balance is approximately $240,000. Daniel's home equity is somewhere between about $230,000 and $278,000. At the same time, he has spent money on maintenance and repairs for 10 years. Some of those expenses increase the value of the property, while others simply helped preserve its value. Jason's portfolio, assuming the same investment return and that he consistently invested the difference in housing costs, reaches approximately $290,000. Financially, he is ahead, and if necessary, he can sell part of his portfolio. But the picture is changing. Jason's rent is approaching $2,700 a month, while Daniel's mortgage principal and interest payment is still $1,863. Even though some of Daniel's other expenses have increased, the real burden of his fixed-rate debt becomes smaller over time. Now we arrive at year 20. Daniel and Jason are both 52 years old. If Daniel's home appreciated by 3% per year, it may now be worth around $632,000. At 4% per year, it may be worth approximately $767,000. His remaining mortgage balance is about $160,000. Daniel's home equity has grown to somewhere between approximately $472,000 and $607,000. Jason's portfolio, meanwhile, could reach approximately $752,000 with an average annual return of 10% and disciplined monthly investing. Jason is ahead in terms of wealth, but there is only one reason this result became possible. Jason actually had to invest the money. Every month, no matter what happened, when the market was rising and when it was falling, when the news was filled with disaster scenarios, even when his portfolio dropped by 30%. That money could not have been spent on a better car or a more expensive lifestyle. This is where a mortgage gives Daniel an advantage. Daniel does not get to decide every month whether he wants to build equity or not. Should I build it this month? Should I not? The bank makes the payment mandatory. A mortgage is not perfect, but for many people it creates a form of forced saving. Still, none of this means that buying a home is automatically a smart investment. The first risk is time. If Daniel had sold the house after only 3 years, closing costs, selling expenses, and the heavy interest payments in the early years could have wiped out most of his gains. The advantages of home ownership tend to emerge over time. The second risk is reduced mobility. If Jason wants to work somewhere else, he can leave when his lease ends. Daniel, however, has to sell the house, rent it out, or temporarily carry the cost of 2 homes at the same time. The third risk is concentration. Jason's index fund is spread across thousands of companies. A large portion of Daniel's wealth is tied to a single asset. If the neighborhood loses value, he cannot fix his portfolio by selling the upstairs bathroom. The fourth risk is liquidity. If Jason needs $20,000, he can sell part of his portfolio. If Daniel needs the money, he may have to take out a loan, refinance, or sell the house. So which one makes more sense? Buying a home can be a strong option if you plan to stay in the same place for a long time. Home prices are reasonable compared with rents, and you can afford the purchase without wiping out your emergency fund. Renting can be more attractive if you do not want your mobility to be restricted. Home prices are expensive relative to rents. You do not want to spend money on repairs and renovations, and you are willing to invest the difference. For a quick comparison, You can look at the price-to-rent ratio. If we divide a $350,000 home by $24,000 in annual rent, the ratio is approximately 14.6. As that ratio rises, especially above 20, renting generally becomes more competitive. This is only a shortcut. Interest rates, taxes, insurance, maintenance, expected investment returns, and how long you plan to stay still matter. In the end, Daniel gave up liquidity and flexibility in exchange for stability, control, and leverage. Jason gave up permanent housing security in exchange for mobility and diversification. There is no absolute winner between the two. For Daniel to win, he needed enough time. For Jason to win, he needed to genuinely invest the difference every month. Is buying a home the right investment, or is renting better? That is not the real question. The real question is this: can you stick with the decision you make for 20 years? Because wealth is determined not only by the vehicle you choose, but also by how you use that vehicle. Subscribe to Money with Tommy to see the real math behind financial decisions like these. And let me know in the comments, which one would you choose? Buying a home, continuing to rent, or waiting for both interest rates and home prices to fall at the same time? If your choice is the last one, I respect your optimism.